I am going to give you guys through the weekend to do your papers. So you guys have a little bit of breathing room. So use it to make the best possible paper you can. I will expect perfection. Right. So, so yeah, you have up to the end of the weekend. Then after that, all we will have left to do in this class is talk about the final paper. The final paper, in a nutshell, is just going to be a longer version of one of the papers you've already written. Right. That's all. That's really all the final paper is going to be. I'm not going to require research or anything like that for it. You can incorporate some if you want to. It'll probably make your paper better if you do. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much what it's going to be. Is just a longer version of one of the papers you've already written.
How long is it supposed to be? I know you've told us, but I don't remember.
It'll be about six pages, 7 pages or so. For the shorter paper, you've already done like 3. So you'll be kind of like extending your argument out into a longer, more fleshed out argument. So, like, let's say you could, for one of your papers, like maybe you want to analyze a couple more scenes, right? Well, that's how you would extend your paper out, right? Past 3 pages is kind of limiting as far as like what you can do, how much you can do. But yeah, that's of course you will use what you can use the parts of your draft that were the first 3 pages, right? And that's the idea. So I like to do that just because at the end of the year you're not writing something completely brand new, right? You're just building on something that you've already written. I think that's a little easier at this time of the year than writing something completely brand new. So that's pretty much what the final project will be in a nutshell once we get to that. Okay. So you can either do the first short paper, the adaptation paper, or the midterm paper. You can build on any one of those and do your final on. We'll have a day. I think there's a day in the next week or so where we won't actually watch a film that day. It'll be like another shop day. So we are going to have another shop day soon where all we do is talk about the paper. I think in between the comedies and the superheroes, I think that's the day we have our shop day. Okay. So I think that's next Thursday. Next Thursday, shop day. Because Nicole will be presenting on Still Magnolias next Tuesday. Still Magnolias is how we're ending the comedy unit. Okay. Any of you guys seen Still Magnolias before by chance? You have, Crystal?
I have to.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to hear what this class has to say about that one. And very good film. Yeah, that's actually a film I hadn't ever seen until someone recommended it to me for this class last semester. I watched it. I was like, "Holy crap, that was really good." So, yeah, so even the wise me has not seen everything, right? So,
yeah.
By the way, those of you who are close to Beckley here in Wyoming County, Beckley, the theater in Beckley this weekend showing Citizen Kane on the movie theater screen. So if you guys want to see Citizen Kane on the movie theater screen, it's playing this weekend. So yeah, if you want to get out, you can see more. You can do a double feature. You can go watch Mortal Kombat and Citizen Kane, back to back. So sounds like a good time to me, right? It's probably what I will do. Yeah, it's really fun to see some of these old retro movies in theaters when they do it. It's a very unique experience, I think. That is, if you're not hesitant about going back out in public. Yeah, the only reason why I would is because I've had both my shots. So now to get to the point at hand about our film for today, The Breakfast Club, a 1985 film directed by John Hughes. Hughes is mostly known for being a screenplay writer. Now that's where Hughes made his. Of course, the very few films that he did direct are classics. Right, so he's mostly known for his career as a screenplay writer. But the films that he directed, he did a film called 16 Candles. It also had Molly Ringwald in it. Molly Ringwald was pretty much John Hughes's muse as far as an actress goes. Molly Ringwald, who plays Claire here in The Breakfast Club, right? She was also the lead in 16 Candles. He did that in The Breakfast Club back to back. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you've ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He wrote the screenplay for the very popular National Lampoon movies. So he did National Lampoon's Vacation, Christmas Vacation. Everybody's seen Christmas Vacation, right? And he did Christmas Vacation.
Did he do the Animal House, the National Lampoon's Animal House?
Let me look here. He did. He wrote Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He wrote that one as well. Mm-hmm. He wrote Home Alone. He wrote the original Home Alone. You guys know that turned into a blockbuster franchise. He wrote Home Alone 2 as well. No, I don't. He didn't write that one, Crystal. It's not on the list here. He died in 2009, so at the age of 59. But gosh, I mean, if anybody in this class has had a very direct impact on popular culture, really? It's this guy, right? Think of just all the stuff I just read. It's incredible, all the stuff that he wrote, how revered a lot of these films that he has taken some part in have become.
There's like 5 modern Christmas movies that people regularly watch every year, and he's got 3 of them.
Home Alone, Home Alone, Vacation,
and Christmas Vacation. Only one he's missing is like Elf.
Right. Yeah, so
that's literally my favorite movie, Corey. Like, I know every single line. My family just starts sending me lines, and then we'll go back and forth and stuff on Facebook. Like, it's known to everyone who knows me that I love Elf. Like, that's just one of my favorites. He's so stupid.
He reminds Crystal of her dad.
Yeah, all John Hughes was missing was a Christmas Carol movie, right? If he would have done a Scrooge movie, he would have done it all for Christmas. So yeah, there's a lot to say about this film then. There's lots of ways we can go as far as like the film direction. We'll have to talk about the soundtrack at some point today. Also this movie and its song especially, Don't You Forget About Me, right? That's a very popular song that was actually written for this movie. They actually like tested a bunch of different singers out for the song and stuff. So yeah, there's actually a bunch of different versions on YouTube of the song that you can. I think Billy Idol did one, but Yeah, we could talk about the thing with this movie is its characters, right? This is the movie full of great characters. Right? Our high school archetypes, right, which we will break down. The mise en scene of the movie, they filmed this in an abandoned high school. That's where this was filmed, was in an abandoned high school. The library scene, whenever they're in the library, they build a set in the high school gym for that library. So that's that's not, that seems like a pretty elaborate library for a high school, right? But it was a set that they built inside of a gym. And yeah, this movie didn't cost a lot of money to make, right? Just because it's pretty simple. All of it takes place inside this school. It just goes to show you that you don't need a $300 million budget to make a great movie. So where to begin then? As always, we'll start with general impressions. Right? What was your guys' general impressions of The Breakfast Club? Some of you might have seen it. I'm guessing some of you might not have. What's your experiences with the film?
I really
See.
liked it. Oh,
Go.
sorry, Crystal.
No, go Reagan, please.
I was just gonna say I really, really liked it. I didn't expect it to be like my first impression before I had watched the movie. I didn't expect it to be what it was. But I really liked how it to kind of change the view on stereotypes. Really liked it.
Completely agree. My exact same thoughts. I went into this thinking that I wasn't gonna. I went into this with high expectations because I knew everybody absolutely loved it, and anybody who ever watches it has begged everybody to watch it. So I had high expectations, and I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting it to get as emotional as it was, and I definitely wasn't expecting to nearly tear up as much as I did. It's a really good movie, and I see why it has all the hype that it does.
I agree. I mean, I've seen it multiple times before, but I just love this movie. It's great. Like, it levels people out so well, and it puts us all in a level playing field. And it really displays, hey, they might look like they have the perfect life, or they might look like they have it all together, but they really don't. And you have a lot of misconceptions. And I love it.
I'm the same. I didn't know I wasn't muted. I'm sorry. I'm the same. I've seen it 1,000 times if I've seen it once. And I love it. I love how because I hated those cliques in school. I never was one of those that, you only talk to your group or whatever. I was always one that talked to everybody. And I know that a lot of that really causes a lot of kids some issues. And, even today you hear about teenagers committing suicide and stuff a whole lot more. And it's due to issues like that. And I loved the breakdown of it that, no matter how perfect your life seems on the outside, doesn't mean that it is on the inside. And I love how they got down to the nitty gritty about their lives and things like that. I'd love if they would have come out with a 2, just to see how they would have reacted once they went back to school and they were around all their friends. I'd love to have seen that. But love this movie. I love the angles. I love the soundtrack. I love the actors. The one that played the tough guy, what's his name? Shoot. Anyway,
Judd Nelson.
Yes, I read where he went undercover as a high school student, and the kids thought that he was a real high school student, and he used his fake ID, which was his real ID. He was like 22 or 24 to buy beer, and then he was like, all right, drop me off at the hotel. They were like, why are you staying at a hotel? He said, because my dad's in jail or in prison or something. And he was staying at this big hotel that all the stars were staying at. And I just thought that was really cool that he would done that kind of investigating and research for this role. And I thought they all done amazing. I mean, this is a timeless classic movie in my book.
Yeah, to
Yeah, I
build on
thought,
go ahead, Bill.
well, I just thought that though it was a comedy, it was filled with the challenge of peer pressure and social division that we have all experienced at one time or another. And, certainly I have friends that you never got out of that. They're still bogged down by the trauma that they went through in those days. So though it's a comedy, it's got some real good social clarity of how we have to function in a dysfunctional society. I like the movie a lot.
Had you seen it before now, Bill?
I saw it probably when it came out, so that was probably in the late '80s to mid '80s. So yes, I saw it, but I had totally forgotten it. But I liked it. I liked it. It wasn't too far from my day, so it was pretty interesting. One thing before I forget, I noticed the guy that Crystal was talking about. He had an earring in his ear, which is common today. It was not common at that time, but he was ahead of his time, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say that build on what Crystal said. Like Judd Nelson's a complete method actor. It's like he did do that, and like he actually like played that standoffish character, like even like around the other actors and stuff. So like he would bully Molly Ringwald, right, on set, right, just because he has to put himself into that role wholeheartedly. Some actors are like that, right? That they to become the character, they have to be that person. Yeah, I read that Nicolas Cage was originally considered for that role, by the way. So you can kind of imagine what he would have been like in that role. He was the oldest of the actors who was in the movie. He was 24 when they made the movie. Trying to, so he did look a little older, right? Maybe he got held back a few times, right? That's something you don't see in school these days. They don't hold kids back anymore. I remember when I was in school, there was a kid named Brandon. Like he had a beard in the fourth grade. So you don't really see that. You don't really see that type of thing these days.
I went to school with a guy in the middle school that drove to school. He did it for real, drove. Like he was like 16 or 17, should have been graduating. Like he had been held back so much. But they don't hold kids back. We were talking about that today. They don't even care if you can read. You wouldn't believe the ones we get as entry-level college students that can read on about a third grade level. It's sad.
Yeah, if I can definitely speak for that. Teaching English 101.
I remember even when I was in elementary school that people got held back. I mean, I got held back a year in first grade, but there was one person who initially I was in the same grade as, and then, me and that person got held back the same year together. And I went on the next year, but he stayed back and stayed back and stayed back. And we were the same age, but when I was a senior in high school, he was a freshman in high school. And it was very strange, I can't lie.
I feel that me and my sister are 5 years apart, and there was a guy who was supposed to graduate with us and shared a couple classes with my sister. So it's very, I think almost every single school has like those couple kids that they don't really, yeah, they just get held back 3 or 4 times.
I think it's weird when people get held back for sports. That's
Yeah.
very, I just think that has nothing to do with education.
that is a sign that somebody's dad thinks their son's the next Derek Jeter. 9 times out of 10, they're wrong.
If it's in high school, I think it's a sign that they know they won't be successful in college sports.
Let them have one more year of glory. Right?
Yeah.
One more peak year, then it's back to the looking at the glory days.
Shoot, when I was in school, they still paddled you. The principal or the teacher could go out and paddle your butt in the hallway. I never got one because I was so good.
Yeah,
Look at that, looking at me.
my fiance is a 4th grade teacher at Mate One. She tells me all about this, how the pressures to not hold kids back and all this stuff. Some of them definitely need to be.
My
Okay.
mom is a third and fourth grade teacher at Mullins Elementary, and one of her students can't even read at all as a 3rd or 4th grader. And it's sad. It's really sad. They've gotten a lot better since she started, but it is just incredibly sad that the teachers have allowed that to happen, which I know that they can't control everything and a lot of it is at home, but still, that's just crazy.
They're too worried about taking a test in the K-12 system to worry about if you know how to read or not, right? They're more worried about taking a test than anything. But I digress. I used to have, I always do that. I used to have a professor, anytime we'd go off on a tangent, he'd just go, and I digress. Right? So, yeah, I've borrowed that from him. So, yeah, so let's bend the conversation, pun, bender, right? Let's bend the conversation to talk about these characters and these archetypes. I think as you said the other day, Crystal, a lot of the folks in this class might be a year or two removed from high school, right? So maybe we can talk about whether a lot of these archetypes still hold up today. But we have the popular kid, like the football player jock kid in the movie, Andrew, played by Emilio Estevez. Fun fact, by the way, Emilio Estevez is the son of Martin Sheen, who was in Apocalypse Now, right? Charlie Sheen's dad. So he's also Emilio Estevez's dad. So just a fun random fact there. We have him. We got the princess of the school, right? Played by Molly Ringwald. We have Bender, the criminal kid, right? The so-called criminal deviant kid. We have the nerd kid, Brian in the movie, played by Anthony Michael Hall. And then we have, how do you even characterize Allison in the movie, right? Well, she's the weird, quiet girl who's in the corner. I guess that's her role in the archetypes.
But didn't even have to be there that day. She was just bored, so she showed up. And then she would not speak at all. And then she all of a sudden come out with, with this talk. And then, I just think that her character shows a lot. I was impressed with her for real.
I can remember having each one of these type individuals. That I think the key is that wonder where we fit in. I kept looking for myself. So I think that's another challenge that the movie kind of can give us if we want to look a little deeper at it, though it's a comedy. The weird lady, weird girl. We had a couple of those people. And then you try to befriend those people. It's a real challenge, but generally they're some of the closest friends you have after you do that.
Yeah, I could speak from, I've had several classes where I've had that type of person before. I remember that type of student from when I was in school too.
Mhm.
What do you guys think? Do these archetypes still hold up? Especially those of you who've been to school recently.
I think they still hold up in adult life. I mean, just
Yeah.
because, we're not in school anymore, so to say.
Right.
But just because it's not like that, I mean, there's still classifications. Every office that you work in, there's classifications. Every, event that you have, and you have people showing up, you're going to have somebody who's like, everybody looks to, and then one that's always maybe causing a little trouble, one that's quiet. You're going to have one that's all about it, done all the research and done what we had to do. And, you're going to have those types in everything. And I think that they're still in schools, probably more so now than they were whenever we was even in school. Who knows? But yeah, I hate that classification, because when kids do that, that just carries over into adulthood. And if we would all just be like how we were in grade school, you remember grade school was not like that. Everybody was just everybody's friend. If you got mad at such and such, you got mad at them. The next day you were friends again. But it wasn't like that, as you get into middle school and high school. So that's when everybody starts changing, and that's whenever the classifications really start.
Yeah, I agree with you, Crystal. I think even, from my experience, I think they're definitely still there in school, sadly. I remember my elementary school experience was a little bit different. I remember there being cliques in elementary school. I mean, I got bullied really, really bad all through elementary and middle school, and it made me into a very mean person in my high school years. So I kind of took it out on everybody. But I remember cliques being a really, really big thing back then. And if you weren't neighbors with so and so, or your daddy's last name wasn't this, or your daddy didn't work here, then you weren't shit. I mean, that's pretty much how it was. And the sad thing is, in high school, we saw those people get special treatment by teachers and adults. And I felt like that solidified their view, the students' view and the students' opinion of being better than others even more. I mean, it was infuriating. I absolutely despise 70% of the staff at Wyoming East.
My experience at Wyoming East was very much like Nicole's in that regard.
I'll just say this. There was one student who got out of class every single day, because they were on a sports team and they were, quote unquote, having meetings with one of the coaches. They weren't having meetings. They were sitting in the library eating cupcakes and cookies or whatever else this teacher had brought, goofing off and laughing. And they passed that class with an A. I know for a fact, but they never did any of the work.
I kind of have a different opinion than everybody. I don't know.
All right.
I think that stereotypes isn't as prevalent. Not that cliques aren't, but stereotypes themselves, just like the average jock. I mean, there's more in depth to that. He can be smart, or he can, he's not. I don't know how to put it into words, but I graduated in 19, and I know that I did not have a clique at all. I talked to everybody. I had band member friends. I had cheerleader friends, just everybody. And I think technology had a lot to do with like integrating those stereotypes together and kind of branching out. But I do believe there is cliques, just like Nicole was talking about in Crystal, and people are given special treatment. I do believe that.
I think
I
that
feel
it's
like
really, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you're good. I feel like the cliques still exists, but in my experience at least, and it pretty much is just my experience, because even different classes at Mingo Central were different. But my class of 2017, it was like everybody was distant from each other. Nobody really hung out with each other. but everybody just like had a mutual respect for one another, and any beef that was going on was in each other's cliques or a very, very similar clique. So like band kids weren't beefing with jocks, jocks were beefing with cheerleaders or whatever. It was something like that.
I agree with that, Corey. Which, if y'all don't know, me and Corey went to the same school. Just
Do y'all go to West Side?
Or
No.
Mingo.
Yeah, Mingo.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm the youngest out of this whole group. I didn't know if y'all knew that either.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, from my experience, all the people that I know from West Side said that it was so much better as far as not being as cliquey and not having as much favoritism.
Probably not wrong.
I think the favoritism thing, that depends on where you're at and what's going on. I know that there was a point in time at Scott High School that, if your daddy was such and such, then you was the quarterback. Didn't matter if you was good or not. And those good old holler boys that could actually play football wasn't out there playing. They wasn't on the line. They were standing on the sideline. So, I see that, but then, you get a newer generation of coaching and teachers in there. And I think that changes a little, depending, like I said, on your area, but I can't stand to see somebody get bullied. It drives me insane. Like, I hate it. I will jump in a minute and put my nose where it don't belong because I just can't. I can't deal with that. People are so mean, and it's not just kids, but people are just so mean, and there's no sense in that. I believe in putting people up and, letting them know how great they are and what they give to the world. So, you two that felt like you got bullied, I just want to let you know y'all are great. I think y'all are great, and I'm glad that I know you.
Thank you. I will say it gave me a lot more, I feel like it gave me more character than I would have had if I hadn't experienced it. Like, it definitely expanded my worldview, and it put me in a situation where I was on the outside looking in, and I can understand a lot of different viewpoints being in that position than I feel like someone who's just been in the know and in the little group and in the bubble for their entire lives, which, might not necessarily be their fault and isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you aren't even actively a part of that. It just happens.
If you guys had to classify yourself in any role from this movie, or even a blend of the roles, how would you classify yourselves? This is a fun question.
Mm.
Anybody want to classify themselves?
I think I have a little bit of everybody in me.
I
You
think
know,
that
I've got a little bit of popularity, and I got a little bit of jock. I've got a little bit of mean streak and rebellion, and I've got a little bit of quiet and strange, and a little bit of book smart. Like, I've got a little bit of all of them in me. I would hate to say that I was one or the other.
I think I personally was a blend of the criminal, the brain, and the princess. I can't even lie.
I think the same with Crystal. Look like I'm a blend of everybody. Which, as I've started college, I've not been social hardly at all. But in high school, like I said, I was friends with everybody. I've done a little bit of everything. I was at the popular parties, whatever. But I also had good grades in class. Like,
I think that it was for me, I was I'd say a mix between the criminal and the athletic. I can remember when I was as far back as 8 years old, I went down to, and that's when you had to try out for ball teams. We had to try out for the little league team, and I can remember without them seeing me do anything with a bat or a glove, they put me in a group of people that I knew wasn't going to make the roster. And that infuriated me as it was a 9-year-old. And I made the roster that year. And that taught me a valuable lesson in that though they categorized me in an area of the land of misfits, which I was proud to be part of, they were not going to beat me on the ball field. I mean, because it gave me a drive that stayed with me all the way through high school. And my friends were from the other side of the tracks always. But, as time went on, though that was true, I was voted best all around in my senior class. That wouldn't have happened to me except that I felt so different when I was 9 years old and they put me in the group that didn't have a chance. But I worked myself out of that group. I did not let that be a deterrent for me. And my friends were these 5 people in the library. They were all my friends. They were close friends. And so I think sometimes if we're not careful, even in life as we grow older, if we're not careful, this can be a stumbling block, but it's imperative that we make it a stepping stone because we want to prove people wrong. I did. That was my chip on my shoulder. I really still have a chip on my shoulder at my age because of that. So I'm proud to say that I was friends with the weirdo, the princess, the criminal, and the nerd. They're my friends today. And that's because, I've handled that. And I can't explain why I handled it the way I did. But I'm kind of, I guess if I would be honest about it, I'm kind of proud of that. That I didn't let that get me down because it could have. And that would be my advice to the younger people. Man, be who you are. This is the greatest group of people I've ever been in class with. I love hearing your comments. They're real. And this movie's real to me. I mean, you know what? It's just amazing what we can learn from these movies about real life.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead,
gonna
Reagan.
say, he needs to be a motivational speaker.
That's true. I was going to say, Bill, thank you so much for sharing that. And, I think some individuals are able to use, like you say, that chip on your shoulder, that kind of anger for fuel. Me being one of those. I mean, I remember my freshman year, I had a similar experience. A lot of people viewed me as one kind of person. And the worst thing that I could have ever imagined happened to me. I got on stage and I was in a play. And one of the girls who did not like me, I heard her in the audience. People forget that the crew and the actors can hear you when you're in theater. But I heard her say, "Oh my God, she's such a whore." And I tell you, I was so mad. That was the best performance of my whole life, just because I was that angry. And a couple months later, I went on to win a state award at the Thespian Festival because of that anger.
Right. Awesome.
He used to speak all the time before he was a director at Southern here at the Boone campus. And while he was here and before he was here, he used to speak a lot. Now he preaches and teaches Sunday school, but you guys have no idea the wisdom that's in him. I don't like to brag on him too much because he lets it go to his head, but but he really don't. But he is really great. And I mean, I've had friends that will come over and they seek advice. We have people that come over that are married that want counseling or financial counseling or whatever the case. I mean, he's a true jewel, but I agree with him in that this has been the best class. I've said it 1,000 times. It's been the best class I've ever been in. This is my last one before I finally graduate. So you know, I'm really blessed and honored to be around all y'all, and I hope that we come in touch again soon and we keep our little thing going, because I love it. I tell everybody, you know, make sure you sign them up for Dr. Yeager's class. They'll never have another class like ours, but I brag on it all the time. So, I mean, you guys are awesome. I love your insight. It makes me actually like a movie that I didn't like before, or makes me see a movie that I did like in a different light because of your all's opinions.
I'm glad I got to be in this class too. I feel like there's a wide range of people, kind of similar to our movie, and I love hearing everybody's opinions. And this is my last semester at Southern too, so I'm really glad that I took this class.
Being it seems like this is everybody's last semester at Southern. How many people is it their last semester at Southern? Because it's mine as well.
Same for me.
I'll be here a couple more.
Brian,
Well,
you're going to Tech next year, aren't you?
That is the plan.
Well, since you said that was brought up, you know, I started my first, after I worked in coal mining for 25 years. I started my college career at about 43. I took my first class. I had a grade point average in high school that just allowed me to play baseball, barely allowed me to, and I didn't get any grades. I remember my shop teacher coming to me and saying, you looking forward to this year playing ball? I said, yeah, I sure am. He said, well, you know, they got high expectations for you. I said, well, I hope so. And he said, but it's sad that you're not going to get to play. And I said, why? He said, because you're failing my class. And he worked over with me in the evenings to get my projects done so I could get my grade up. So I had to come out of the mining industry and came into college at 43 years old. And Crystal and I took our first college class together. She had just gotten out of high school.
I was in high school.
Yeah, you were in high school. And so this is her last class, and it's my last class, because this class will allow me to finally graduate, get my associate's degree after all these years, 20 some years. And I'm the only thing, I'm sorry it took me so long. I've had to work a lot of hard jobs. But I want to say this, that I've got a better GPA than Crystal does. And that's all I've strived for all my life. And so I am excited. It's been so much fun having class with her. But I think this movie has brought all of this discussion out of us. The movie has done that for us. We've saw different points of view, different people, personalities, home lives. Everybody seemed to, except one kid, just really hated their parents. I'm sure there was a time when, no doubt, that Crystal could say the same thing, but I'd like to say that mends after you get older. So it's a good thing. It's a great movie, and it certainly has brought out the social aspect in all of us.
Yeah, we all have our archetypes in this class. Nicole's the feminist, Corey's the historian, right? Right. So
Crystal always starts us off.
this starts us off.
Bill's the philosopher.
Ron and Reagan are both the horror fans.
And Kirsten loves the sci-fi.
Yep. Yeah, Kirsten's our facts person, right? She always gives us the facts.
I agree to that. And she's incredibly smart.
Mm.
She has to say every time we would have the when we was doing the discussion before class, I'd always read hers. Always.
Yeah, if I had to classify myself, I was probably a mix of the nerd plus the athlete. I was a little bit of mix of both when I was in school. Probably more so the nerd. I was a nerd who was slightly athletic. So
I
I
feel
was
like go ahead.
I was
Did you-
voted most studious. So go figure. I'm a
That does
professor.
not surprise me.
I always considered myself an athlete in a nerd's body. Honestly, people say I could. People say I could absolutely be a brute, like a really good offensive lineman, if I tried. But it's just not for me, and I ended up being in band, so it worked out.
I was definitely that weird kid who was hid in the back. I kind of kept to myself with my very few amount of friends. That's all I ever did.
I was barely there, if ever. And when I was there, I was always arguing with the teacher about some kind of injustice done to me or someone I know. And I was always arguing about how everybody had it better and how it wasn't right. And I will tell you, high school, if you are going to have a little tiny bit of a criminal streak, high school's the best time for it because it don't go on your permanent record. It's the best time to have it.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's even better in my day because we didn't have phones to record everything you done. You didn't always get caught.
Listen, don't make me jealous now, Crystal. I could have gotten away with so much more.
Girl, you don't even know. You don't even know. Dad come home one time and said, "Why are there blinking lights in my basement?" And I was like, "Me and Julie took some road signs. Get them out of my basement now and put them back on the road." And that was like something I let my dad know about. It was
Listen, my
constant.
My favorite experience from high school was my senior year. Me and my friend Hannah, who had dropped out. I tried to get her not to, but she had dropped out. We went in and I brought her in because we were having a blood drive. Well, we were hungover. We were about an hour late. When we got there, they said the blood drive was canceled. Well, we couldn't get anybody to sign us out. And so we had to stay there all day. It was miserable. It was so fun.
Yeah, I
I'd
see
like to
that.
pick up on something that Ryan said. He was talking about about being alone a lot and not having a great amount of friends or whatever. Usually, friends of mine that were in that category were my best friends. They were always very intelligent, and you had to really dig deep to know what they had. But they were so full of so many good characteristics. It was amazing. They are today my best reliable friends. Let me say that. People that are reliable, people that you can count on. That if you had a major problem, you could go to that person, and where they're not talkative, they're not out to just spill the beans. There was someone that you could trust to give away maybe a secret that you didn't want out. So everyone here makes up a you know a portion of what society is. These kids that were in this library, I was thinking about the criminal guy, the one we call the criminal guy. Man, he had some broken heart nights, no doubt. He was tough on the outside, and when he was around people, he was tough. You didn't want to fool with this guy. But and yet, I guarantee you, when he was alone, maybe in a bedroom or whatever he had, I'd say there was some tears flowed from that boy's eyes. And so it was good to get to know him in the movie. I kind of saw through him pretty quickly.
I kind of figured he would have that kind of arc to him. I figured we would have the tough guy who's was abused and stuff like that. I kind of figured that was the path we were going down. Nevertheless, though, when it hit for me. Like my heart flipped on him immediately. from like he's kind of funny, but also kind of getting on my nerves to oh no, I really feel for this dude.
Yes.
The beauty of this movie is it all takes place in that one scene. That's when you get all of that character development coming in, when they just all sit around in a circle just talking with each other. Like pretty much all the like that heavy stuff that we're talking about that happens in that one scene. I actually read that when they filmed that scene, the lighting was so bright like the lighting was so intense, it was super hot. So like all these actors that were trying to do this really emotional scene were like burning alive. So that gives you a little bit of a appreciation too for that scene, how hard it was to execute.
You know what
They
that made
just
me?
knocked that out of the. Sorry, I'm just gonna say
Go
they
ahead,
just
Corey.
they just knocked it out of the park. Every single one. When I Emilio Estevez, for half of it, I was like listening to him, and for the other half, I was like, "Geez, this guy like deserves an Oscar for that monologue alone." And then the arguing between Claire and Bender, and Claire and Brian, and they all of them just were spot on. Even the weird girl. I don't want to call her the weird girl, but y'all know what I mean. Like she like played her character spot on to even the lovable side of people who are just weird, for lack of a better word.
Here's a real quick question about that character. What did you guys think about how they tried to make her normal at the end? That was her transformation, right? She puts makeup on and stuff. What'd you get? Or that's not the black eye makeup and stuff, right? What'd you guys think of the actress? I was going to say the actress who played her did not agree with that decision in the screenplay, by the way.
There's a thing in there's a joke in one of the Family Guy episodes where it literally says, now we're going to cut to the every ending of every 80s movie where the chick that is ugly to society standard, the chick that is ugly to society standards gets like cuts her hair or gets it redone and puts makeup on, and all of a sudden she's a 10, and the people who just blown her off, who are actually really crappy to her, actually love her, and the end. Like it's just like such a weird thing for like 10 different movies to do, and like that's the twist ending at the end, is that like the ugly girl is beautiful. Like what the frig is that?
I think it has a couple of different, I look at it a couple of different ways. I look at it like they're trying to quote unquote normalize her. But then I also look at it like she's conforming to that whole cliquey type thing, and she's trying to be a part of the clique that she wants to be in instead of being who she really is. She comes out to them about who she really is, but she's conforming to what their impression should be. So, I mean, I think it's nice to be able to see her pretty and all that, especially how lonely she was. I mean, if you remember in the beginning of the movie, when her parents drop her off and she gets out of the back of the car, she leans up to say something to them into the passenger seat, and they just pulled out. Like they didn't even care anything about her. She was never heard. I don't think she was ever heard until they had that scene in the movie. So, she was actually heard for once. I think she should have stayed true to who she was.
I agree with you there, Crystal. I think there are different ways to interpret it. One way, and this isn't really the one that I lean towards more, but you could look at it as, her makeup, the dark hair, or the crazy hair, the clothes could have been, I guess you could view it as a costume or a shell. And they helped her come out, which isn't how I viewed it, but is one way you could. But I personally, I didn't like it, and I didn't like how she was just happy about it. Because me personally, she seemed like the kind of person that even though they were lonely, even though they were sad and they might not have had many friends, they were themselves. They were independent and they were an individual. And, you know, me personally, if say this one dude over here didn't like me and was mean to me and was rude to me, and then I changed my hair and my makeup and I looked totally different and he loved me, I'd be pissed. I mean, I'm the same person I was then. I'm the same person now that I was then. I just look different. And if your feelings are based on appearance only, then that's some bull crap. And that's not going to be long lasting and it's not going to be meaningful. And to touch on what I was going to say earlier, really quick, I thought it was really interesting and I thought it was really true to the real world too, how it took all of these people from their different cliques getting separated from them and not having the eyes of their clique around. Because a lot of times, if you're in a clique, you do things to appease the clique, you do things to fit into the clique, and you do things to ensure that you'll stay in the clique. And it wasn't until they got away from that and they got off on their own that they actually started understanding each other and being kind.
To build on what Nicole just said, comedies, going back to William Shakespeare, right? Comedies often do always have happy endings for the most part. But oftentimes in comedies like this, you have relationships that come up at the end of the movie. So like even in Shakespeare's day, like Nicole and I just finished reading Twelfth Night in my other class. Like these comedies would end with characters getting married. Or you would always have to ask yourself, okay, will this couple work out? Will this couple work out? And we have that. We have 5 people in the Breakfast Club, right? So So we have Claire getting with Bender, right? We have the Emilio Estevez's character getting together with this quote unquote strange girl, right? The nerd's left out, right? The nerd has no relationship at the end of this, right?
But he's accepted by everyone, and I think that's what he was looking for more than a companion. He just wanted to be accepted by everyone. Remember whenever the janitor was like speaking to him and stuff, and they were all looking at him, and he was just that kind of guy. He was the talk to everybody kind of guy. So I think that was his main goal. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
I know you're
Why
fine.
is it that why is it though that we as a group seem to be not satisfied with the weird girl changing, and yet everyone else changed? All our other characters in some way changes. How was she supposed to change? I I hate to disagree with anybody. I'm one of those people like just get along, but I kind of liked her change because when she was there alone in the back, I hate when people are alone in the back and they seem to be unhappy. She was definitely unhappy. And that's what I was thinking about, Dr. Yeager, when you talked about the Shakespeare movies and comedies ending in happiness or something. I don't think that it could have ended well had she went back into her lonely, dark life. I think she had to evolve like the other characters did into something else. And I don't know of anywhere else she could have went who had a happy ending. So, whereas, it may not last a long time, she does have a bleak moment of some happiness, but I think it does last for her if there was a sequel because she practically wins all over the athlete because she was stunning when they remade her. So I guess we can all look at it different ways, but I kind of like the happy ending.
I definitely see your point there, Bill. Go on, Reagan.
You can go ahead. That's all right.
Thank you. I definitely see your point, and I don't totally disagree. I think the biggest issue I had with it was that with the other characters, you made a really great point that they all changed, but I felt like all the other characters, their changes were mainly internal. And I was a little bit displeased with how her change was mainly external. Like that was the only thing that got me. I wasn't unhappy about, her opening up some or changing her character a little bit or, just finding friends. It was just the fact that they felt like to do that, to change her character, she had to change how she looked. That's the only thing that I really disagree with.
Maybe it's reversed really, because out of the heart is where all changes come from, out of the heart and mind. Maybe she saw that there was a better way. I don't know. You could be right, Nicole, but I'm looking at it as though she saw this little glimpse of light and she thought, well, I'll let her do this makeup on me. I've never seen myself this way. I don't know. It's just it's a good thing to think about though. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't think there's any right or wrong way to really take a movie. It's always open to interpretation.
How
Yeah.
I seen the transition was the way you express yourself outside is the way you feel inside. And to kind of add on what Bill had said, I feel like her change symbolized brightness being into her life, like got rid of the darkness, which was symbolic for the loneliness and probably depression, and resulted in her getting friends and happiness and all these changes. I felt like that's what the change symbolized, instead of it not being like to take out her individualism, but to like I felt like it was just symbolic to her being happy finally.
I like that. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good analysis. What about one character we haven't touched on is the teacher? What did you guys think of the teacher's role in this film?
Hating.
He makes me sick. He really makes me sick because he has no desire to get on the level of these troubled kids. He's a strict disciplinarian who was probably a weasel in his day, and he probably did everything on the hiding it. He probably one of those kids that got away with everything in his life. I like the character for what it brought. I didn't like if it's a real person, I'd have trouble really wanting to be this guy's friend.
I think he's a jerk, and you know that he has no home life because he's there every Saturday. And then he's bragging about how much he makes. I make 40 grand a year. Okay, well, good for you because you look like John Travolta in that suit. And so you need to come with the times. And he was just so arrogant. And like I loved whenever he was pouring that coffee and it all just comes out everywhere. Like I felt like that was his karma for the day. He needed that. You can see the obvious pain in the criminals' actions whenever he's like, "Do you want another one?" He's like, "Sure, yeah." I mean, we've all seen those kids in school that they're embarrassed because they're getting called on, so they're acting tough to compensate. But yeah, he made me sick. But we've all had those types of teachers or known those types of people to where they think they're God's gift and they're really just so alone and so dark themselves inside.
Yeah, it's a bit of think about the education system abandoning a lot of different types of students, right? It goes to show you that like some teachers like that will give up on a student like Bender, right? Just because that happens all the time, right?
Planning on being I'm planning on being a teacher, whether it's high school or college, I'm not for sure yet. But I've learned like for the past year or so that like I have to be that type of teacher. The type of teacher that pays attention, sees what kids are acting tough or have that layer over them, and just don't make it any worse. If I have to confront them, it has to be nobody's around. I'm not gonna, like, I had never even caught till literally just now from what Crystal said about how most of the time, like, he pretty much acted that way. He pretty much was like acting tough because he was embarrassed he got called out. That I would have caught that, but that makes so much sense. And like now, for the rest of my life, I will know not to do that. So it's almost like this was training for me to be a not crappy teacher.
From
agree.
my experience, and probably from some of y'all's too, it really only takes one or two good teachers to turn your whole high school and college career around.
I pretty much had three. Out of all the teachers I had three that kept me sane. Out of all of the external drama and internal drama, not being able to pass some classes, or like relationship drama, stuff like that, there were three teachers that were able to keep me sane all throughout high school.
Well, as a teacher myself, I can just say that's what we all hope for, right? At the end of the day, we can make a difference in even 2 or 3 people out of a whole bunch, right? That's a difference, right? So food for thought.
What makes you want to just be a different person, even though I'm not a teacher, I deal with students all the time. And I deal with the public a lot with the events that we have for scholarships. And you don't want to be that kind of person. You want to be an approachable person, someone who's open to ideas, someone who doesn't think that they're right all the time. So you see in these characters, as we talk about them, whether it's this movie or any other, you see who you want to be or who you strive to be and who you don't want to be. And I think we see a lot of, who we don't want to be.
Yeah, we've probably all had teachers like this guy at some point or other. Yeah, again, like Corey said, good lesson on what not to do. So, all right, guys. Well, we're out of time. Yeah, that one flew by quick. Right? Like I said,
We got deep today.
it did. Just like the one scene in the Breakfast Club, right?
Yeah.
Everything got real.
I'm gonna have to go take a sedative after this.
I was going to tell you guys, by the way, it depends how comfortable you all are at coming out, but at the end of the semester, we should all arrange something. Maybe all meet up for dinner at Logan or something, right? That would be
Absolutely.
I
I'm
love
about
that.
it. I'm about it.
That would be fun.
And in the
Listen, we should
future,
find a good movie showing somewhere and then go have dinner and discuss it.
Let's please do that. That sounds fun.
and there's a movie theater up at Logan. If we wanted to meet in Logan as a general thing, then we could go watch a movie and then go over to Chiefs and have a meal and discuss it. Oh, that'd be awesome.
yeah.
And I'd make all the arrangements. I'd make sure we had tickets and I'd make sure we had a little section off for us and all that.
I'd
For
absolutely
sure.
come if we can make something like that happen.
Is it closer for most of you all for Logan or Beckley?
Logan for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crystal, you can pay for mine. I'm on a fixed income.
Well, we better talk to the president about a raise. I got a house payment.
Yeah, let's all do that at the end. It'll be nice.
That's a great idea.
It'll be
Then we
nice
could actually all meet in person too. Oh, I'm excited. We could celebrate all these graduations too.
Right.
And-
Yeah.
In the
That would
future,
be
if you guys
great.
have any questions or need anything, whether it's this school or any other school, and you need to know how something works, give me a call, email me, whatever. I don't care a bit to help you with anything I can.
Hey, class, maybe we could do this. We could all get together and do this, like Dr. Yeager said, in place of the final essay.
That's perfect.
You know, Dr. Yeager, that sounds like a good idea.
It does.
I mean,
really
we
does.
we could be democratic and take a vote on it.
Hey, I'll buy your
Sorry,
dinner and gas.
sorry, Dr. Yeager, I shouldn't have done
No,
I mean,
Bill,
I'm
that
not
was
opposed.
a wonderful idea.
that.
I'll buy your dinner, your gas, and your movie ticket. I might even buy you a toy at Walmart if you're real good.
Yes, yeah, let's all plan to do that at the end. That'll be fun.
Yes, would be great.
Crystal, you said you were going to ask me about Beckley.
Yeah, which theater?
It's the Marquee Cinema in Beckley. It's I think it's the only movie theater in Beckley. So
It's Galleria 14.
yeah, if you go to marqueecinema.com, you'll see like the play times and stuff that they're showing it. It's a nice theater. It's kind of like, it's pretty much like just like the one in Logan. It's the same type of theater.
Okay. I'm interested to see what they're playing this summer at the drive-in at by Pipe Stem. I'm excited to see that because I want to
Me and
go to
my-
a drive-in.
Me and my fiance are gonna go there. His grandparents live right near there, and we drive by it every time we go there. And I always think, oh, I'd love to go there.
Our camp's up there. You should let us know whenever you're up there. I'm getting married at Pipe Stem on the 26th, so you can just come up and we'll all just
No way!
Get
What?
together
Like,
and go.
what are y'all using as your venue?
we're just going to Pipe Stem and going to an overlook and letting that be the setting because we just bought a big house and then there's a house paint.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be nice. My fiance, our first date was the Pipe Sim.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll probably be up this weekend or something like that. I gotta go pick a spot out.
If I'm up that way, I'll shoot you an email. Maybe we can go have lunch or something.
Perfect. Perfect. That's
All right,
awesome.
guys. So we'll see y'all next time.
Great
Thanks,
class,
Dr.
y'all.
Yeager.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Hey, Dad,
Yeah,
you wanting to order something or what?
yeah, call your mom. Get it all arranged.